welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture a scene that might feel a little too familiar. The air outside is chilly and crisp, maybe a bit gray, but inside your house, oh, the atmosphere is intense. It's literally like an erupting volcano of modern family stress, just a frantic, chaotic rush against the clock. We have all been there, right? Well, hold that thought for a second and juxtapose it with a completely different scene. A serene, quiet side street in Tokyo, where the morning unfolds with a gentle, totally predictable rhythm. Today, we're exploring some fascinating source material that breaks down exactly how we can bridge the gap between that intense morning chaos and lasting, everyday emotional peace. Let's get into it.
So, it's 7:42 a.m. The morning volcano is in full eruption. Your little one is lying flat out on the living room rug, face flushed red, big tears streaming down their cheeks, completely and utterly overwhelmed. And the catastrophe that started it all? The seam on their left sock feels slightly twisted. You're exhausted. You're crouching down beside them, glancing desperately at the ticking wall clock, and you're trying to use adult logic to explain that the sock is totally fine and that you're both about to be late. It's incredibly stressful, and it's a visceral reality that almost every single modern parent faces.
Now, contrast that chaotic, exhausting meltdown with a 6-year-old over in Japan. It's raining, yet this child is confidently walking down the street to school, completely alone, carrying a heavy backpack under a little teal umbrella. And later in the day, this exact same child will quietly serve lunch to their classmates. If things don't go their way, they actually process that disappointment internally without throwing a massive tantrum on the floor. Okay, let's dive into this, because you have to wonder, is the fundamental difference here the kids themselves? Like, are Japanese kids just somehow wired differently? Or is it the parenting? Do Japanese parents possess some kind of secret to childhood behavior and emotional regulation that the rest of the world just hasn't caught on to yet? Well, our source material suggests it's absolutely the latter. And it all actually starts with how we view the child's brain. Section 1. The science of anger. The biology of a meltdown. To actually solve the morning meltdown, we first have to totally remove the blame from the child. I know it's hard, but their stubbornness isn't some malicious attempt to ruin your morning. During a tantrum, a specific part of the child's brain called the amygdala, which basically acts as an active emotional alarm system, glows red hot. It completely takes over. And here's the kicker. When this alarm is blaring, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for reasoning and logic, literally shuts down. It just goes offline. This means that all your perfectly reasoned, logical arguments about why the sock is actually fine literally cannot be processed by their brain in that moment. So how exactly do Japanese households prevent these alarms from constantly firing off? Well, they utilize a concept known as kata. Now, while you might recognize that as a martial arts term, inside the home it refers to a repeated, highly predictable routine. By creating a very structured, peaceful environment with rhythmic daily actions, like neatly placing shoes by the door or preparing breakfast the exact same way, the child's brain feels fundamentally safe. It doesn't need to panic or sound the alarm because it always knows exactly what's coming next. Section 2, connection and respect. Building deep trust. In Japan, this foundation of deep trust is forged through something called kinship. This is the physical and emotional closeness between parent and child. We're talking about sleeping nearby, spontaneous hugs, or just a quiet, steady presence. And this isn't just a nice idea, it's backed by some really profound science. The sources highlight a Kyoto University study that actually proves this physical closeness synchronizes a parent and child's nervous systems. Basically, the child subconsciously borrows your calm heartbeat and your steady breathing, soothing their own system without you having to speak a single word. How amazing is that? So, the crucial point is summarized perfectly right here. First connection, then expectation. In the West, we often accidentally make our love conditional. We expect the child to behave well before we offer that warmth. But that just fails. A child will only rise to meet your expectations if they first feel entirely secure and emotionally connected to you. If they're stranded out in an emotional storm, they physically cannot cooperate until you provide a safe harbor. So here's a highly actionable takeaway you can literally apply today. The very next time there's a conflict, just follow these 3 steps. 1. Put the phone away. Just completely disconnect from the screen. 2. Get right down on their physical level and make genuine eye contact. And 3. Listen fully. The source material shares this really beautiful example of a Japanese teacher who, when a young student spills water during lunch, doesn't yell or scold. Instead, she respectfully kneels down and cleans up the spill right alongside the student. She prioritizes connection over authority. Section 3. Understanding, not fear. Tools for inner growth. The Japanese word for this approach to discipline is shitsuke, and this is really about inner discipline that is patiently cultivated by parents over time, not something that's just abruptly imposed from the outside through fear. Think of a Japanese mother who gently kneels down to eye level before entering a quiet store. She calmly reminds her child to use a soft voice and to walk slowly. She's setting incredibly clear expectations ahead of time, rather than just waiting for the child to run wild and then punishing the mistake. You can actually cultivate shitsuke in your own home by adopting incredibly clear, simple rules. Things like speak in a soft tone, tidy up your own things, never raise a hand in anger. By practicing these gentle principles every single day, the child is actually empowered to independently internalize self-control through their regular routines. It becomes a core part of who they are, rather than just something they're being forced to do. And of course, when a mistake is made, because let's be real, children are always going to make mistakes, the golden rule is this: correct in private, apologize with dignity. Publicly shaming a child absolutely shatters their fragile self-esteem. Instead, what a Japanese teacher will do is take a disruptive child to a quiet corner, gently explain the mistake while maintaining eye contact, and then help them return to apologize to their peers with their head held high. Their dignity remains completely intact. Section 4. Empathy and Freedom. Growing through trust. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the concept of Omoyari. This goes way beyond simple sympathy. It's the ability to intuitively feel and genuinely respond to someone else's needs. If a child snatches a toy, a parent doesn't just bark, "Hey, give it back." Instead, they kneel down and ask the child to look directly into their friend's eyes. They ask, "When you took that, how do you think their heart felt?" It's a subtle shift, but it teaches the child to step outside their own little emotional bubble and truly visualize another person's feelings. And as that empathy grows, so does their capability. We see this in Hajimete no Utsukai, which is all about building confidence through early, real responsibility. Letting a very young child run a quick neighborhood errand, or even just pour their own water at the dinner table or water the houseplants, builds a profound inner resilience. They develop this unshakable belief of, "I can do this," simply because parents intentionally resist the urge to jump in and rescue them from small, perfectly healthy struggles. And this brilliantly illustrates how community and daily routines literally shape the brain. A screen-free meal, followed by a quiet moment of gratitude, naturally leading into predictable sleep. Our sources highlight a fascinating study from Osaka University that found daily rituals like kyushuku, which are communal school meals where kids actually serve each other, and saying itadakimasu to express gratitude before eating, literally create neurological harmony. These routines wire the brain for a deep sense of shared responsibility and profound calm. Ultimately, all of this distills down to the core message of our explainer today. Change the environment, and their brain will choose to be calm. You really don't need to force a child to behave, you don't need to break their will, and you definitely don't need to raise your voice. You simply need to construct a predictable, highly empathetic environment where their nervous system feels safe enough to naturally regulate itself. So I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question. Which of these principles will you adopt starting today? Look, if you're an exhausted parent, do not try to change everything all at once. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's putting your phone away during your conflict or practicing connection before expectation, and just try it out this week. And please be sure to share this explainer with anyone in your life who might need a slightly calmer morning tomorrow. Thank you so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you next time.